어, 다 다른 가수学的地区那真是，嗯，那가수忙不起了，该来的彻底都，看到看生意嘛，甚至当不出的，连续不拿心，厂商什么马鸡不吃的呀，大拿心，什么都是出的呀，那他不都没心大跟咱们这老地方的叔叔了，地用不多。这什么马鸡不用的当，汉浪达米信达跟他们这些老百姓些呢，呃，嗯，第一，第一出现了点呢，叔叔给今年当的别的呗，就这个什么去叔叔了就要别的，去没不抢这个什么去，等这个，呃，多巴当，他那些个去新车当，马鸡不用的去用不多。就低了动力看这结果也是的，低得起。
Now, with regard to the last session, Rinpoche would like to talk about the following. So, many of us have problems. Rinpoche said he talked about this in the first class or during the first session. Many of us have sometimes, well, sometimes we're unhappy, sometimes our mind is distracted. Also, it happens that we get upset when someone insults us. So, because of this insult, because of what another person says to us, well, it may even change our personal situation. We may be influenced in such a way that it influences or that it changes our situation, that we lose all our hope. It leads to a lot of worry, it leads to a lot of unhappiness. And this situation, Rinpoche would like to address.
嗯，呃，样卡起了，但他们这的，你当他们这是啥的，卡起了，我那个刚开始贴起去呢，变那那个拦住也不嘛就把他，他那先给去米的米巴鲁给，团体也不嘛就把他，团体给进去些呢，样，叔叔给忙罢了，忙变对啷个。对啷是态度，现在来事情，但你忙被啷个的卡的钱用上上说的，现在一边不把修来的用不多，现在是的是，
So some people have real problems in the sense that, well, they may not be able to find a job, they're unemployed, they have problems with other people, they have arguments, they have fights with other people, or they're really worried about the future. They don't have much prospect, like no real future prospect, and therefore they're worried. They're scared of what the future holds.
然后些苏布马丢当那咋当顶这个，刚刚个经济些呢，叔叔了热瓦拉呀当，马几不起顶这用不多，但咱们这儿，
And then there's those who are physically unwell, who may be sick and due to their physical condition, they lose all hope. They're really worried about what's going to
嗯。
happen.
那可是因不因那的，刚才看这因不因那的，刚才的特别卡多的了，刚才的了东林斜堂，刚才的了上旅途呢怕大当的看这就过的是，他的确过的，刚才的了东林斜堂的也不是西不因呐，上旅途那里的，上旅途呢刚才的了东林斜堂当，刚才的特别卡多了，叔叔马上不切退啊。热我马拉巴切推啊，按照用的当起呢，按照买不出推啊，即穷不赢呢，但顶这一套系的，刚刚开始吃不赢了嘞，我必须给我当出来。
Now, Rinpoche would like to talk about a method that we can apply, that we can develop no matter what problem we face. So, whatever difficulty we may face, with this kind of method, we may be able to face the situation. So, it's a method that is related, that concerns our thoughts, our own attitude in such a way that we don't feel We don't allow ourselves to get depressed. We face the problem without feeling depressed, without feeling discouraged, and without experiencing fear. So that's the kind of method Rinpoche would like to introduce here, a method that can be used no matter what the situation is. It can be applied to any kind of problem.
刚刚这位看到了三囊路了熊白接引的人，俺这接引不引的人，大囊先给，多吧，当然开始结过引呢，上上给等这个呗，多吧学习没来不引的人，第早的卡巴是土的人，看这是学习呢，俺这来个人，看这了点呢，先熊白的来个人，就先讲了点呢。 아니 다나시 주sen 칸라 때네 가르차용 상배 신체시대 도바딜리고를 주sen 칸라 때네 거스티 제주 동에 뒤조우시리스.
Now, in such a case, when we have problems, when we face difficulties, we usually feel discouraged, we experience anxiety, we worry, all sorts of destructive thoughts arise. Now, in such a situation, it's important to investigate what is the cause for all that? What is the cause for our problems? What are the reasons for these problems, for these difficulties? Why do we feel discouraged? Why do we feel worried? Why do we have fear? This is something we need to analyze or investigate.
다 배나 안다 다고 지시를 샤네 쉬워이나 당가 가르차용 상시시네 안다 레야 당 다 shum바이나 안다 다고 지를 샤스나 근데 이 안다 레야기 주조디 수수상류 나로라 苏苏短大党，苏苏的民谣了，苏苏的民党，苏苏的的家娃党，大那些苏苏让那个团，吉尔个团没基于苏苏团去，大那些苏苏跟团上in那里，苏苏让你来in那里，新加进步有比大的，做的新加个些我苏苏团的绿党嘛多吧，苏苏团的了新加进步有张。 让你给团结了，他新加坡是给让给团，让你了其他的，新加坡人，让给绿了新加坡人，让给民了新加坡人，看到让给团结了新加进步越长，你提了的，提也不用下去，恐怕拖去，提了你不接近的，提了接近之类的讲了，你先出用过是吧？
Well, if we take the example of fear, anxiety, worry about a situation, well, what is the main cause for that kind of experience, for that kind of worry, anxiety, etc.? Well, it's basically the main cause is basically that we're worried about our own benefit. We're worried about our own objective, our own goal, our status, the activities that we would like to engage in, and so forth. So, in that way, it's like a very private matter in that we feel I can't reach my goal. I can't do what I want to do. I can't fulfill my wishes. So actually, this is all based on attachment. We can't let go of the attachment towards our own benefit. So whether it be physical, whether it's a physical benefit, whether it's the goal I've set myself, whether it's my popularity, etc.
那鸡蛋呢，属于短大的业务用入去那上吧，第鸡蛋的热脏的，转给我嘛的是业务加入去那上边，听这个热脏人呢是么出嘛的，但俺做的，菜来给我，过分的，菜来给予，属于短大了，西部鸡。第二，他新价的旺季，你地用孤独设计，卡的钱呢用孤独设计，但俺最上难路了。수수短大的了新加坡的讲了，但新加的手其他些些呢，的短大的也不得用，也不得用过度，马用的这个门都设计了，水的了你不见呢这个门都，卡的也能没能用设计，但第几步的的让生了扩大去嘛都被的嘞，的新加坡往的，被今天的查询的。 zimba shu chabu di ma to be su su tenda di kantes yungu yore se chi ngoye ne su la kantes di yung tu yore ngoye ne su la di nyebar da yung guya chi rebe ngoye ne su la di yung ya ju da jin kar kar yore se di sang zan da gugu wa ma su xi cao xi
Now, in short, it's this attachment, the attachment we have towards our own benefit, which distracts the mind, which is responsible for our worry, for our anxiety, and so forth. Now, of course, it's okay to have certain hopes, to have certain expectations, to wish to not experience problems and so forth. However, when we talk about wishing for something, having the wish to fulfill our goals and so forth, well, often we experience an extreme kind of desire, an extreme desire that is exaggerated in that it's controlled by attachment. There's a sense I need to necessarily reach my goal. There's no other way. I need to there's nothing else I mean I need for it to happen, because otherwise I won't find happiness and so forth. So it's too strong. Our attachment is too strong. There's a sense if I don't reach my goal, it's not okay. I need to definitely get this. I need to achieve this and so forth. And so no one should stand in my way. We become really obsessed with whatever we attach to, with whatever we have desire for. Our attachment is too strong. But in reality, can we really achieve with this kind of attitude? Can we achieve our goal? Do we need to achieve our goal? Actually, when it comes to the causes and conditions that we accumulate, well, with these causes and conditions, it's impossible to achieve the desired result. Due to this obsession, due to this attachment we experience, which is an exaggerated, which is an extreme type of mind.
다 ngoye ne zu le jie wen yin da su su gi tuan da kan zhe ji yue wen yin de su su ge gi tuan da kan zhe ji yue wen yin de yang su su rang ni yin ba yin de su su rang ni le su xin jia ji dan ngai yin ji mi ji ya bu ji cha gu yue xie xi ne su su le su xin jia jie ten zhe ji yin ba yin de din ni jie ba men du kan de ten zhe gi xin jia le be ka du di le o sang lu ni ba ji dang ji xi ne但俺说列巴北极当时期呢，第三第那个多，刚才西了北极当时期，哦，他叔叔给你不都姑姑都上边短大地，你得来记一下，别家下呢，俺拉是咯，王家亲不你得来姑姑都是，熊给囊落了，杰克给熊有了，熊给来接人最起起呢，哎你估价同步，你得来记，你不都姑姑都上上说的列为卡多的了，哦，上去当。국가 통부디 국유의 원이나 국가 통부디 용야라 주진 가수 상고도 로 디 용야기 주진 디럽이나 신연기 주제기 차네 국가 디강 대발라 신연 딘데지 국유의 세시 미기 자진지 수시야요로 딘데지 윤도 가보로 다 디창게 도면도 지다 다 신연기 자진 딘 담바이나 양 디강의 미기 냥뇽지 샤유지로 냥뇽 룬딘데 지버지 국유의 세 딘데지 유나 냥뇽 딘당게 도면도 지다 수수다. 엔 다나신 파슈딩아 데벌라 수부 디당 여버지 구유스. 로 나서지 진이 나서 매버지 구유 지지지 매버 구유스라 왜나 어디 자신디 수술라 창도 면도지다. 엔 다나시 디강라 데네 추주지 내가 지구고로다. 추주 고반에 주정하고 받듯이 지제구도 가고로. 디 제구유에나 수수기 디 제투도 면도 추주 가수 내가 제투도 디치데. 엔 디당도 마세베 디강라 데네 내가 제두 다 레공 디나로기 레가 자주기 레가 가리인 바이나 레가 디더디 수수기 가주 제도도 로 디조상시 당
Now, in reality, what happens when we have attachment, when we have certain desires? Well, it always relates to us. It's attachment towards the self, attachment towards our own personal goals. And when we have that kind of attachment, well, we feel this attachment has arisen in our mind. We need to really analyze the situation. as they usually was they nowadays say, well, we need to use our brain, or to say it in a need to use our brain, or to say it in a different way, we need to use our wisdom, our intelligence. So let's say, for instance, you have the desire to become powerful, to attain, to achieve political influence, political power, to have a high political, to reach some kind of high political position, for instance. Now, it's important to reflect on this now, to spend some time reflecting, well, do I actually have the causes and conditions? Have I accumulated the causes and conditions to reach such a status, to reach such a job, to get such a high position, and so forth? How about my degrees? Do I have the right kind of degrees that enable me to get that kind of job, to get that kind of position? Does my education? How about my education? How about my experience? Am I experienced enough to perform the kind of work that this job requires, that this position requires? And how about my physical situation? Am I physically well enough? If I suffer from strong diabetes, for instance, well, I might not be able to do this work. And also, I need to probably work from 9 in the morning until 5 p.m. So, can I do this? Do I have the stamina? Do I have the strength to do this job? Basically, I'm like, can I live up to the expectations of those I'm working with? Is it basically so? In remember, she basically says, well, if I work in an office, if I work in a certain environment, I need to check whether I be able to do the job, whether I be able to do this. So in that way, it's important to be realistic and to analyze, to check whether the causes and conditions are all there.
다 디자인도 마세베 수수기 수부기 디오로 뉴버치 레가 제기 뉴버치오라 같이 제투마도 세기 수부 다 미카시기 수부디 추주 주주니 추주 가수 제나 제투에 되는 도 딘데기 수부기 뉴버디 지다고 디자인도 마세베 다 완체디 구두스로 디간라 완체디 수수의 정보이나 수수 가르치의 비제 동해야다 시다 왕제디 수수 된다더다 수수 된다라 시부 구구도 사 왕제디를 수수 신차 시부 실리 다 딜레버인다 가 시부 차그레 상상기 진대기 신차 장기 신왕도 주년 왕제 되너지 경기 미치기 문에 시나 왕제디 진대기 미디기 라바 레버이나 상부 요르요 말에세디 디 나중에 디 가서 디 티어리 디와 디 인디간라 수수상스나 완제디 수수를 토나 니버도 토구도상 레디 완제디 레네 가르제 완제디 레네 수수 된다 주야래 미망의 小学래
But not just that. Again, it's important to analyze, well, do I have the physical ability to work for long hours? So there's some people who can work for 12 hours without physically feeling exhausted. And again, to check, am I physically able to do this? And what am I going to do with all this power and this influence that I would like to attain? I would like to uh, gain. What will I do with it? What will I use it for? Will I just use it for my own benefit based on my attachment, to myself? Is it really appropriate for me to be that influential, to have all this power? And if I'm able to become really powerful, if I gain all this power, well, will I use it for the benefit of others? Or will I only use it for my own benefit? Will I use it in general for everyone else? Or will I just use it to my own advantage? So these are all questions we should ask. We should ask ourselves, if I want power, if I want influence, what am I going to do with that?
음. 다 수수기 된다지 루상에 왕체디 되니 지유웨이나 디양 디차고 말에 우연에 수라 왕체디 수수 라발라 레 루머지 차고 말에 디장的마세베 나초 가와요르스나 미지소 나려요 미지소 나로 유디강라 미지소기 인징아 좀 참말로 요다 인기고에 지소디 딘자용야 지소디 가수고다 미팀바 마차야 후부마용야 지소디 지지了 뉴버제대당 지지了的 가수고래 마가오체데 딘데지 많이 뭐 지수 시딜hinja 용야긴 긴시 아주 참말로 요 아주 지수기 차셰레 마도 지수 수수기 차셰 말에 아주 지수기 차셰 수수 지수기 차셰 딘윤디 강라 지수 미망부 용이 지수 뒤에 나로라 수수레 위시 참바 수수레 연den치와 수수레 뉴버치와 수수레지 가수고래 미망부기 우티 제야디 참바 딘데 로 수수레 연den치와 딘데지 요리 요 말에 딘데지 요바이나 그 제는 참바 요래 수수 제는 참바 요래 뭐이네 줄라
Now, again, going back to this attachment, if we have attachment towards being powerful and influential and so forth, well, is this really in accordance with reality? I mean, we live in society, we live with other people, and we're part of society. So, in that sense, we need to take responsibility for the well-being of the people, for the well-being of other humans. So to take personal responsibility for human society to be free from conflict, to not experience any disharmony, for people not disliking each other, for peace in society. So living in society, we have this personal responsibility because we are part of society. It's not that human society is part of me, but I'm a part of human society, which is why it's important to consider the well-being of others and take personal responsibility for the well-being of other human beings, of other people. And also we should check, if I want to become this influential, this powerful kind of person, well, what about other people who may have greater qualities, who have greater abilities, who may be much better leaders than I am? Maybe they're more suitable. Maybe it's more appropriate if they get that kind of position, if they get that kind of status. So if it's more appropriate, is it then, shouldn't I let go of my wish to get this kind of position?
다 가르치고 월스나 간들 수수 된다는지는 신다 가리 만지는 만지에서 뒤차고 월다 수수 된다는지는 신다 상황에 두지 당기 있어 치수지 있어 남의 당기 있어 더 뒤차고 월어 더뒤 인디린디 말했어 된라 용어래 메롱어랬어 뒤
Now we need to think in such a situation, like, are my wishes, is my desire in accordance with reality or not? Well, in the end, it's just something that I wish for, but does it make sense? Is it okay to wish for this if it's just for my own benefit? Isn't that a self-centered kind of wish if it's just for my own benefit? So I'm basically letting go of everyone else. I'm ignoring the benefit of all others. I'm totally ignoring everyone else. So is that truly suitable? Is it actually okay for me to have this kind of desire and to work towards fulfilling my desire, fulfilling my wishes?
다 디인디강라 가리라 되발레베 이나레 되샤지 용한테 꾸랑신기 nga tsui sanglu nanglu le yungure di nga rangsu mi ge jibu ki juan ske mare ta pije nanglu la sondi gang la tumo meba ne nyomo kumbe wangi mizin di wangti cheba ine chunjung ne nyomo se di ku rangshin ninje li che di yung di gora sheta di ki kumbe shuk yung yore re di sanglu nipa chi tangchi chi ne ngoye ne sui chama tangchi chi ne susu la nipa dinde yue da me tata sang tangchi chi ne susu nipa da tsangpa tang 디자인도 마세베 수수인 되베 된다 디 루바이나 디기 장신 참말라 펜버시 딘제기 공무 지 용구 도무도 상 딘데 땅베 토네 아니 방랑 제바이나 온디 제고도 디 제주면도 상도 시시니 침바이나 다 ngwe ne su shi le sha ne zhu di gang la kar yong gres na su su sen gi na lu la ale di yong tue gi ju jin chang ba ji re sha di yin di gang la di yong gre sang sang ku su gi min de ba mi gang sa shi ra ba ka xie ji dang ka ji gi min de ba jie ba yin de juan yo ma de kan is na di yong ya gi ju jin chang ba yin sang ku yong gre sang sang di sin je jie di yong gu ma re da yang ngwe ne su le di yong ya gi ju jin chang me ba chi ha ku na o ju da jin ma chang na je bu ya bu yong ya me ba di ngwe ne tsure di yin di drebu di yongya ki juda jen su su ki tsangwar che gu du san juda jen tsangya ki to ne kale jaya ma to juda jen ma tsangya wang ki drebu di yungu meba tondi gang la dandong yang drebu di yungu mendu da kari che gu re ngen kin duen lang kari chang yung sang be sen che ji jutsen mebe to ne jutsen yang da mebe to ne sang lu cha zang ma dang be to ne ngang da dang kari che gu re sang be sen che de duba le de di rang xin gi
Now, of course, we have different wishes, we have different desires. It's natural for all of us to have these desires, these wishes. For instance, in the scriptures, it's said that since beginning this time, we've had desire, we've had wishes to gain this, to have this, and so forth. But we need to consider this. We need to, well, when we have a wish, when a desire arises, we need to reflect on that, to analyze this. Well, is this desire realistic? Do I really have the ability, for instance, to do what I wish to do? I mean, in relation to my ability, I need to check. If I just want to fulfill my wishes, well, is it really beneficial? Does it benefit myself? Does it benefit others? And in that way, is it appropriate? Is it suitable to really do this? And if I come to the conclusion that it is suitable, it is appropriate, I can benefit myself, I can benefit others, well, then I don't need to worry, even if other people are not happy with me, for instance, gaining this status, gaining this position and so forth. Well, there's nothing to worry about because I've come to understand that this is appropriate, this is suitable, this is beneficial. If on the other hand, the causes and conditions are not complete yet, if I haven't accumulated all the causes and conditions yet to reach that goal, well, I first need to work towards completing these causes and conditions, to accumulate these causes and conditions in order for me to experience the result that I wish for. And again, there's no need to worry, there's no need for anxiety and so forth. I just need to be realistic and do whatever needs to be done in order to reach that result, reach the result that I desire. So it's important to be in accordance with reality, to investigate, to check well, and then to see what I need to do, what I can do, and so forth. And thus, there's really no need for any kind of worry, for any kind of destructive thoughts. They don't need to arise since I've gone through this kind of process.
그 디인디 유제 탕지 다 ngaran su le chung de dang ji zu nang lu le yong de dang kan zhe jin na re bo nian dang kan zhe chung bo yin na re di tang ji ju de jin na zu ji zong be wang ki yong de cha di go re yong ma to ba dang ma yong ba dang de jiang ma zhong ba di ji zhe di yang ju de jin ma zu be wang ki ju jin chang gui di ji zhe di ma chang ba yang na ju de jin zu di ji zhe di chang na yang ba ru le ba che jing yi de chung be wang ki ma zhong ba 근데 라 电年多对呢 주진 나서바 초내 연구요래 용대디 마용바 디제제디 주더진 상고에 참마 마상바 디나로 시다바 주진 시다바 지망상바 순다 딘데기 왕기 연구요 말에 세상 참마 랑신바래다 좋은 데에다 마좀바 참마我也是听不进去用的有人性吧，让人大的，他人性吧影响，他的钱没多，他的苦我也是的，我能去苦的，啊那，有这当年去退下，那他集中一些是我赢不的是，今天用一个就尽量数集中有一些设计了，别加下呢，嗯。
And in that way, therefore, I need to consider everything from all perspectives, to give it some thought, to reflect on the situation, to check is it realistic or not. Now, with regard to the society I live in, with regard to the situation I find myself in, all that I need to think about, I need to reflect on. And in particular, it's important to check whether all the causes and conditions are complete. If I wish to reach a certain state, if I wish for something, well, have I accumulated all the causes and conditions that are necessary? So if I haven't, then there's no way that I can reach my goal, if that I can reach that result, because it's not enough to just wish for it. I need to make an effort to gain that result, to reach that result. And so all the causes and conditions, to check, are they all complete? Or maybe I've accumulated some of the causes and conditions, but not the main causes and conditions, the primary causes and conditions. They're not complete yet, and therefore I face obstacles. So in short, it's important to understand that any situation requires a lot of causes and conditions. All sorts of different types of causes and conditions need to come together, need to be completed. And I have to make an effort to be sure that these causes and conditions are complete. And if something is missing, well, I won't be able to reach my goal. And that is just reality. That's the nature of things. It's just natural, and we can't change that. We can't go against the nature of our phenomena in that way, and we need to act in accordance with reality.
다 가상 간이기 내추나 임바 있는데 다 남준양 연구를 배나 아마기 수수 보고 수에 되는 연구도 다디 할래버들 아니 보고디 수수기 아마 수에 되는 연구도 다 지수 만불의 연구도 다디 가서 구용디가 자원이 다티 간제스 총벌선 자니 미시버지 용배선지 가도디 다용리가 되는 소용구도 다 이나양 딘데기 내당디 간제스 총벌에서 디 겨로기 내 수딩 가서 다간르디가라 맨 아마디기 부디 수에디 간제스 총도 내당 간제스 총도 겨로기 내 수딩디 다간르디가라 다 아마디 상류 나로라 쿠랑기다 어 세나로라 토메기 저 가리 제도 다나신 쿠랑라지 쿠랑기 신자 제대기 된다 가르가르도 류다마토에 가르가르도 딘데당 아니 쿠랑 나미디기 내당 디나로라 컨제도 딘데 따용디간라 딘데기 코유지 나로라리다 다 쿠랑라 지 랑가 야부 땡이기 레바 구싱이스라고 그러다 간다 미 미카시에스네 딘데기 랑야 양다버 땡이기 게유신이 기긴라 마체발라 수바 아니 코유기 나로라 지 쿠랑 유서기 지수 디 나로라야 지 가두이네야 이러봐 지 중바이나 차 탄제네 야버칭 예버도 고르스 넘버 탄제도 야버지 고르 넘버 탄제도 야버지 만좀바이나 다디 야부 메비 잘라딩 할라 가르치고 상상이 딘데기베 루타 루쿠스도부기 상루디 레야라 소바 디 딘데기 루쿠스도부디 레야 디 양코라 주제만부지나 종시시네 계신 아주 딘데기 나랑주 수수양 코유 딘데지 나로라 레지지네 도스야 창문 좀바이나 다 하나 아주 상문 잡은다고 차도 얘기 니가디 구 요해버려 제가 디 겨로가 간데스 정도 뒤따야디 디 계지 뭐 차도
To give you an example, well, it happens that there are mothers who kill their own children, and that's actually quite astounding that that is possible, or children who kill their own parents. I mean, that seems impossible. Children who kill their own mother, it actually seems impossible. How could such a situation arise? The thought may arise in our mind, well, how is this actually possible that this happens, that children kill their parents or parents kill their children? However, it's important to understand the causes and conditions that gave rise to such a situation. So there is attachment involved, but not just that, there's also the situation of the family of that person. What was the environment they grew up in? What was the background? How were they raised? How was that person raised? And what kind of family were they raised? What kind of situations did they experience? What kind of situations did they have to live through? What was the situation of the kind of activity? What activities did they engage in? Did they have someone to guide them? Maybe they didn't have a teacher, maybe they didn't have a guide that showed them what is appropriate, what needs to be done, that basically opened their eyes to reality and showed them how to act in an appropriate way and so forth. So maybe they grew up in such a way that they became really narrow-minded. Also, the sense that when things went wrong, they were unable to cope with the situation, that there was this desire that everything has to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, you just want to get rid of the situation. You want to throw everything away. So we just don't know what are all the causes and conditions that led to such a situation. The background, by what was the situation and so forth. So what was the environment? And in that way, if we reflect on all the different kind of causes and conditions that may give rise to such a terrible action of killing someone, well, if we understand them, then we may understand.
그 딘데기 내수디 넘버 탄지의 만지부 차이거디 넘버 탄지의 만지비 아메기 부스여기 딘데기 내수디 용야기 주진디 가수 참에 상동의 계침부리 니네 가수 지속이 나로다 미 지속이 나로라 당 가수 참말은 긴유디 간라 미 지속 나로라 베나 파마디라 부 주고 공부 전신 지위에 있나야 공부 전신디 루사 유바 되사 유바 싱쿠르 제킨 유바 따도 제킨 유베 딘데기 코유진 아수기 다 갈래 정이 주전이 딘데 통야 망부 요래 로 공부 전지 나부져서 망부 요래 레디 지주全용기 차네 딘 당기요 마 단도 미 지주 나로라 다 부 간데 정보 있는데 부 옹부차창와 수구 디당 유비 부 지바 있는데 수구 디당 매바다 옹부전진 지바 있는데 에 근데 지바 있나 디참마 루서 되서당 다도 지긴的참마 유서기 기초 딩아주详细点比基础사수수 지先유바详细유바 생구루 유바 다종 유비 근데 기초 딩아주 제토나 파마를 보고 딘데 지바 있는 파마 센데 요 말아 딩아주 참마的저도 기초 쿠랑 야부지 나랑 출了고야기 기초 세딩지 수마토야기 디다엔 저 요레스 저 시워다 딘제기 진단 딘지 시버리
So if we would find ourselves in a similar situation, well, we would probably act the same way. We would, if we found ourselves in the same situation as this mother who kills her own child, well, who knows? How can we know that we don't act in the same way? So this is something we need to consider. Anyway, of course, if a mother kills her own child, it's something terrible, but we still need to think about the situation. Like, we live in human society, we have responsibility living in human society. And something that we also need to consider is, let's say, a mother gives birth to a child who's disabled, a child who's handicapped, how difficult it is to be in such a situation. I mean, even though the mother may work really hard, give her best to raise this child and so forth, but it is extremely difficult to look after a child in such a situation. So sometimes the facilities are just not there. It's financially, emotionally, and so forth. It is so hard to look after a child with special needs. And also society is not geared towards really fully looking after children with special needs. So it's so difficult actually in terms of education, in terms of physical care, in terms of love and time and so forth. So if society had all the facilities, if human society were able to offer all facilities towards a child of special needs, well, then parents wouldn't have to worry about raising a child. They wouldn't have to worry about having a disabled child. But that's just not reality. That's just not the way things really are. And so, in that way, society is far from perfect, and it is extremely difficult to raise a child of special needs. So therefore, these are all aspects to be considered, the difficulties of such a situation and so forth, and what society is lacking. And that's why we also have to take personal responsibility for whatever's lacking, for the problems people
这个
face.
顶天因为呢去上当用的讲了，他俺这些药嘛的，我呢去的大大唱不进土地讲了，他叔叔给对位短大的了，西部机线下修清不起来的，拼图机也有嘛的，上路南路了，古都塞个对吧？卡水清不起为那对吧？清不低，叔叔短大主要有嘛的。对短大的主要的卡是图能做个是呢，可让主席给举得进，他做不他用过了，他给学的别穿了，他的囊心给对短大看这些那里的用下了，可让给特别就有的，的做成了些过的，你给钱嘛吃不起，水土没土大过的，但这个长所呢，就现的，但短大的原因不是，的嘛多呗，的脏嘛多的他。die zang le zang lu na lo la ngati gu du ngati yon nan chi min du ji chi min du ni chi min du sang de di gang nge tue be re ma du ni ba tue ji yo ma da di la ga re tue yo s na su su ma ji ba su ye gi da di je le di yo da su su ma di wo su ye di zang ma du di le ge ne je bu di su su la yong ya da su su的恰上用途嘛就那样，都是这边这部地的叔叔你不的，他你是当出来去，他你是他你不恰去呢，就就哎呀，顺着恰下去了，他你不恰去，这边对他定主要了，你们啊，我也去没呢，然后你们起码都忙过了啊，今天几水土园那里的叔叔先拿路给，俺了个个都塞的，今天给新下的水土嘛的，但都他人都当个的。说他人都当个吧。现在上路南路给安扎当，开始借用当吧当，大那些个，但的开始恰用上边，真正个多巴当这呢，生产力的学了，开始去过，俺开始就说拼多几讲没吧，我也呢去了这部的用下了，拼多看也没吧，第来多的这部的用下了，越节约吧，越节约吧。단도 가리 용거스나 딘제기 센제다 나다 디지털 수수 센 마지버 수야다 센 구수도 수야다 아니 센라 녀슈 퇴베지 에 레데야다 디진시 수부마디오 수야 어디 용거레스 다 그게 존재 딜이다 디마도 요마르고
因为
So basically, to wrap it up, what Rinpoche said early on, well, we need to consider, we need to really reflect on reality. What is there? What is the situation? And just having attachment will be of no benefit. Basically, if we're driven by this attachment, by this desire, it's not helpful at all. In fact, it actually harms us. So the desire for a certain position, for influence and so forth. Well, previously Rinpoche gave this example, but that was just an example. There are many other cases where we wish for something and we're obsessing about the object of our desire. But this actually turns into an obstacle. Just that wish, oh, I wish for it to be there, I want it to be there. That kind of attitude is not okay, because that kind of attachment will cause us more problems. There's no real benefit. It serves as an antidote and makes us really unhappy. This obsession about the object, it doesn't help at all. Instead, it's so important to consider what is the result we wish, what do I need to do, what is appropriate and what is not. If just obsessing about something were beneficial in such a way that, well, let's say you want to attain a goal and it will take you 5 days to reach that goal, by obsessing over this goal, it'll only take you 4 days to reach the goal. Well, that's different. But of course, that's not what happens. Just wishing for something, obsessing over something doesn't lead us closer towards achieving our goal, doesn't lead us closer towards attaining what we wish for. And in that way, therefore, it's important to let go. It's important to let go of this obsessive kind of impulse to get this, to get that, to in that way let go of our attachment. And there's no point in generating war, I mean, in having anxiety and worry and so forth. We need to learn to control this kind of mental response, which leads to all sorts of destructive thoughts. So this thought, what am I going to do if I don't reach this? There's no point in doing it. It's so useless. There's no benefit. In fact, that actually harms us. So this obsessive desire and attachment, it doesn't lead us anywhere and basically harms us. Therefore, what's the point to worry all the time and be unhappy? It leads to a close-mindedness that actually has a harmful kind of force. It has this harming force that comes along with that. And it'll just result in a lot of mental problems, but also in physical problems. It can actually make us mentally and physically sick. This is what we need to understand, that this kind of desire, this kind of obsession, that kind of attachment will not lead us closer to reaching our goals. In fact, it will move us further away from reaching this goal. It will prevent us from attaining what we wish for. And we need to therefore be realistic about the situation.
차당기 루칸데 지인바 이나레 디슈치 루디강라 되베 된다 조야라 뉘제기 오레스 나랑주 소야딜라 되베 된다 조야라 구유여버스는데 소기 어딘 되차다 시다면은 디메버스는데 초디 어디 초로디 외네 수도 정계레 가레러디 되차 슈치 루디강라 미상루 구스투부 차고레 하르스는 되베 된다 디지부통 다딩 인지미지 나지불로 구두 시치네 수수라 구유여바 디지부 딘데 구구지 상 가서 센나 코야디 춘중지 아니 되베 된다 디 시부지 야부 임바 남버 탕제의 야부 임바 디 종산의 참만 진주 유여스는 딘데 지부지 통지시네 셀레게 이동 딘데 통지 아니 에 주다네로 주망부지 다인 거다 남버 탕제의 야부지도 요 말에 요마 내지 통유디 상로 구스도 공외내 수다 미팅바 외내 수를 태션 주댕이기 태션 주대기 딘데기 통수지 레디 자오지디 외내 수당 미팅바 외내 수기 셀레 개유 태체치와过分기 자오디 제인 거다 세상 구스도 차용 디강라 아니 古书读个商旅的过年浪对两个节用的讲了，明显大个我连节推去查个马的，卡对呢都是当个没了，现在对被团团追了，你节当都是结果的事。
Well, when we have strong attachment, when we have strong aversion, these mental states, these kind of afflictive emotions, well, they really harm us. They really harm us in the sense that we have the sense we need them. Usually we have the sense that would benefit us. If we didn't have the desire to do this, that, and the other, we wouldn't achieve anything. But actually the opposite is the case. Because what happens is when we have this afflicted kind of desire, this obsessive desire and attachment, well, our mind becomes very narrow. We become very close-minded, obsessing over a particular object. We're no longer able to see the whole situation. We're no longer able to really think. We're totally obsessed with just this object, just the object of desire. And on top of that, we perceive this object, the object of our desire, in a totally unrealistic way. We see it as great and wonderful, and we exaggerate its positive qualities. So the way we perceive the object of our desire, it cannot possibly exist. It's a total exaggeration of what's there. So on top of the realistic positive qualities, we superimpose all these other positive qualities and consider this object to be perfect in all ways. So having that sense that this object is so great, is so wonderful, by exaggerating its qualities, we then obsess over it. But that is not in accordance with reality. That way of superimposing all these positive qualities onto the object of desire, of imputing all these positive qualities on them, that's just an exaggeration of what's there. And it leads to this narrow-mindedness, to that close-mindedness. And it is just not appropriate. Not just that it's not appropriate, but also in our interaction with other people, it makes it really difficult. Because if we obsess about objects in such a way, it's impossible to cooperate with other people. It's impossible to live with other people, to work with other people, which makes it even more difficult to reach our goal. Therefore, it's important to understand, although it seems that these afflictive emotions, such as desire and so forth, benefit us, they actually harm us.
今天因为呢，觉得大家唱不起呢，上当入土地讲了，俺这结果解药嘛的，先选不结果解药嘛的，开始我呢觉得全部入土地讲了，叔叔了，你不卡住药不的，讲了讲上个吹把土的，地的全部用个来上，地的你不来给呢，这不去叔叔了用个没不的叔叔大大好过的，那地上的嘛设备，叔叔让你给。제 둬야지. 가리 임바 있나래. 다 미칸제치 임바 있나래. 수수기 제 둬지다 왜 임바다. 로. 엄부전지 가수 먹고 가수 있나래. 쿠란기 제 둬야지다. 쿠란 수연 둬야기 딘제기 차진 쿠란라 참버지. 자세 자탐바 요래. 시에서 따다 용어에다 참을 루트도 흉버지 고에면도.
Now, in reality, therefore, it's important, therefore, to consider reality, to be realistic in terms of our desires and so forth. And if we're realistic and we reflect well, we consider the situation, our goals, our abilities in a realistic way, well, why should we feel worried? Why should we worry and feel discouraged about anything? Through our analysis, through our reflection, we get a good sense of the measure of our ability. We become realistic with regard to what we can attain and what we cannot. So it gives us a realistic sense of what is possible, a realistic sense of whether we can reach a goal or not. And once we understood that we can reach a goal, well, we can work towards it. But we understand the measure of our ability.
五根
And
不
we
具足
all
的
can
人
do
看起来
something.
他们似乎
Everyone
不是那
has
么有能力，
certain
可是
abilities.
一定有他
Even
们
if we're
能力所
disabled
及
in
的
certain
事，
ways, even
一
if
定
we're
有他们
handicapped
能
in
活的
certain
方
ways,
式，
but
这
there
是
are
一定
so
有的。
many things
所以呢，
everyone
当
can
你
do.
完
Everyone
全的
has
走在
certain
事实上，
abilities,
一切都符
and
合事
everyone
实
is
的这种
able
状
to
态中，
achieve
你
something and
到
to
底
do
为什么
something.
要感到
So
怯
since we
懦呢？有
all
什么好
have
怯懦的
special
呢？
abilities, we all have um, the capacity to do something, why should we be discouraged? Why should we worry?
最那个季节，不晓得要了，最那个季，最季人给，叔叔了透过好多上，眼睛小面上，脱牙的、小牙了，西部季身体当，菜来给是我的菜来给多切过买不来，看来老地方了，最那个季给头当小些的，最那个季给的，但路，俺就给最能路了上单位，路地嘞，他认为路家自己能上单位呢。 别呢，老张准备搞给西部竞争最期待就西部去打定俺姑姑们都说地界这的，老张团差为急了，年去的大人家地个就是呢，地嘛嘞，地土也好像要嘛嘞，是吧？那别算群众区位那里的，别呢，西路机动国家，俺就俺国搞了票了，全就是西部去穷吧了吧，最要钱呀的，最要钱西部穷吧的，好像就。 여기 취대리 총세디 마음발이야 노스 알와당 야르 야젠주 야기 틴데 하나 디 리와디 라바라 하나 리와 통투 매브슨 시레 다 별미 수진이나 수수수디交通呢 마도 벽이 취대리 총 디수 간제 디야 야젠주 야기 상루 잠블리나 야젠주 야기 상루 하나 코투고 말이 다 디상 루俺就给急了，送去西军俺就出去给急了。啊，你想，年当现在掐送，咱们的库上给年当现在修的掐起呢，是吧？现在最积极和托亚当叔叔的规别托些团体当，啊，你小面要上边生产起的，现在你基本了是不是的结果嘛嘞？个群众是不是来是吧？最通通几个的嘞，还不都结网还是上当的些位呢？ 미지지기 토당 쇼르세다 미지지기 뇌베 된다 세디 다 춘종 시부지로 다 춘종 시부지 디기 체도 시부지 차당 제ren 개매 되지 차디 디 제기 뒤쪽에 요 말, 제ren 개요 말다
Also, what is important to take into consideration is our sense. Also, what's important to take into consideration is the fact that when it comes to certain time periods, we obsess about achieving something and not losing. I mean, we want to achieve something and we don't want to lose. We want to win and not to lose. So we have this obsession, this exaggerated sense of like, I want to reach this and I don't want to be unsuccessful. But this is again, this unrealistic notion of achieving something in a really short period of time and feeling if we're not successful that this is a disaster. But actually we're narrowing down, we're too narrow in terms of the time we consider something to be possible or not. So we should actually be more far-sighted in terms thinking in terms of 100 years, for instance. So this kind of competitiveness to reach something in a short period of time is totally unrealistic. So when you go to school, for instance, it's really just a short period of time. And then when school is over, everything is totally different. So it's so important to be good when we're at school, to have good marks and so forth. It seems to be so important to be better than others and etc. But actually, this is just a short time, and when school is over, it's all forgotten. So to give you another example, in 1959, when Tibet lost its freedom, well, the Tibetans at that time felt really hopeless. There was a sense, now we lose our unique religion, our unique culture. All this is lost. There's no way we can preserve our culture. There's no way we can improve or we can kind of increase our culture, we could strengthen our culture and our religion. People lost all hope. And a lot of Tibetans felt the only thing I can do now is just sacrifice my life for the Tibetan cause, for the unique culture, the unique Tibetan religion. So having lost all hope, that was the kind of sense people had in 1959 or shortly afterwards. But about 60 years later,
다 가주 상제 중딩데 디송도 가서로 꾸버 마제 스미 꾸버 마제 상了야보지 동스 상了야보지 동스나 갈수 요르스나 가드이나이로 쿨러 용버디 갈라 구도 쿨러 아니 마종어 디안 갈라 구도 시시네 가드이나 미신다지를 대시시네로 되버지 마제스 수수 가르치 두두스 미신다지를 때네 되버 제조랑 알라 티구도 니구도 쿨러틴도 가고 그 제부레시 가 제부 인구도 그 케버레시 가 케버 인구도 시시네 근데 런 되베 유부친 되샤 유부시시네 마드 송도 다 가르치스러디 수수 제투버디 제스 수수 가수 제투버디 제스 수수 가수 제투버디 제는 딜러 바변 제부 창버시 유시 창버시 렘버시 다다 연구하다.
So therefore, things have, well, at that time, that's how it seemed. But then 60 years later, the situation is so different. The world has changed so much, and there's so much more hope for Tibetans. In that way, it's important to be more far-sighted, to worry less about short periods of time. And in particular, when we consider reincarnation in past and future lives, well, this is just one life. Whatever goes wrong in this life, there's sometimes just short periods of time when we suffer, when we have a problem. But if you compare to all these lives, these past and future lives, this is nothing. This is so insignificant. Anyway, the Buddha has said that we should think well. The Buddha has advised us to think well, to not be so obsessive, to not be so narrow-minded. We need to consider a situation and not always be guided or be controlled by our desire. Oh, if this person has this, I need this as well. Even if they don't have that, but I need this. So to always compare ourselves, that's such a big problem. If this person is a king, I need to become a king. If this person is a scholar, I need to become a scholar. I need this, I don't need that, and so forth. We shouldn't become slaves of our own desire. So what we can do is we should do whatever we can. That's realistic, to be realistic in terms of our abilities and so forth, and do what we can. And then we don't need to worry. We don't need to feel discouraged. So therefore, Rinpoche says there's no need to feel depressed and discouraged and worry. Anyway, so this is just about this course kind of situation. Subtler would be to deal with the afflictions and so forth, but there's no time. So there's no time to go into all the details on how to remove our afflictive emotions. But something else Rinpoche says he would like to discuss is how to generate more love and compassion.
게 주부야 많이 버 자우야 많이 배 미치지 아니 예 딜라 수수기 디제 가자 무시 버 주부 디제 유인 딜라 수수기 자우 디제 미송 나다 수수기 남에 땅야기 미 바마지오라 어디송 상지 당스다.
Now, in order to generate more love and compassion, do the following visualization. Visualize. So visualize in front of you. In front of you are three people. In the center is someone you don't really care about, someone you feel indifferent towards. So in the center, visualize that person. Then to the right, visualize your best friend. And to your left, visualize your enemy. So in that way, think that in front of you, there are three people. A stranger in the center, to the right, your best friend, to the left, your greatest enemy, the person you dislike the most.
他其实说了，我说爸妈的当年了当过了，过男的人、差的人也不穷些，度假穷死，穷下死些过瘾的人，哦，赢不了，俺嘞，可能度假穷赢不了，哎，也不穷啊，学谁说的，现在了给要么的，操给来要么的，那度假穷些死了，哦，赢不了，啊咔谁说的去了，下过了，那你怕说的，呃，也说的了，那你度假去穷下死了为呢？啊，先处那个，也不去穷下媳妇干用过，但第二个新假期的。파슈 자우딜라 야부 중샤스라윈 아 드리샤스 쿨라 가사가사 드리샤스 마다 두자지 중샤스라윈 드리샤스 다 쿨라 두자 중국 그랬어 그 가수 두자 중에 나와라세 근데 제디고 아니 야부 중샤스 구용디가 다 쿨라 야부 중샤스라 마가차시네 아 쿨라도 야부 마종으로 신시 가수 din에 상 코디고 세상 디 시당치디고 다 구주송了记了当年下记了对下去记了西当起的多
Now, with regard to these three people, well, we're indifferent towards the person who we don't care about. So we basically ignore them. We're controlled by ignorance in that we totally ignore them. So whether something good happens to them or bad happens to them, we don't really care. So when we notice when we witness some problem, so oh they have a problem, may they feel better, but it doesn't come from the heart really. We just kind of very superficially wish for them to feel better and so forth, but deep within we don't care. We basically ignore their needs, and if things go well for them, oh that's nice, but again we don't really care. However, with regard to our friend, well, when they have a problem, we really worry. We're really worried about their well-being. We get concerned and so forth. While if something positive happens to them, well, we rejoice. We're so happy for them and so forth. So this is due to attachment. And then there's the person we don't like, our enemy, and it's due to our aversion towards them that when something horrible happens, great happens to them, we don't like it. We feel, oh, they don't deserve that. That's not okay. They shouldn't have this. We don't want them to experience something positive, and we rejoice when they have problems, when they have difficulties.
可是送的了，记了当年去，记了对下去，记了西当结果没不的，但在那个了，可是送的记，爸妈的叔叔的，记叔叔的你的，记叔叔的找人的，大人的找你爸妈送的，三年的找你爸妈送人家妈的，大人的你的，卢卡些几个找抢着过的。 다리기 자오디 루카시 지기지를 제당면 자오다야 따두 상루 튀미된데 텐데기 토네 주부 찬도 거래 니가 간 미치지기 나로나 다니 바마송베 주디기 거래 다 지오 마무지기 토네 시에버인다 뒤제지 무지기 토네 시에버인다 아장장 니가 간이 미치지기 나로나 다니 바마송 니가 매버리 디인디간라 그 니레스 제지니 시부지 신자 제고에 매버리 그 자오레스 시부지 당부 제고에 매버리 그 당뇨 레시지니 바 유샤고에 매버레 쿠산나니 수수 두부 야슈디 차야기 에 고요당 디 차야기 에 차시비 그 랑신기 내당디 유해버레
But actually, with regard to these three beings that we react to with three different afflictions, so in terms of indifference or ignorance, aversion, and attachment, well, reacting in that way is totally inappropriate. So to consider some to be a friend, some to be strangers, and some to be enemies. Why? Because today's friend, stranger, and enemy may change tomorrow. Things may change in the future, may be very different. That the stranger becomes an enemy, the friend becomes a stranger, or the enemy becomes a very good friend. Things change all the time. Even within this life, things change. So there's no certainty with regard to our relationships to other people, regarding our relationships with others. They're constantly changing. We constantly have this friend becomes an enemy and so forth. And if we consider future lifetimes, this is even more so. Our relationships with others constantly change. And therefore, it doesn't really make any sense. And we should let go of our attachment towards these relationships, and when we hold on to the solidity, we feel that these relationships we have with others, that they're unchanging. But instead, we should let go of our sense that these relationships will always be the same, because they change, because they're never the same, and our relationships therefore are always different.
你的了修行下结果没个嘞，你的叔叔了，卡苏个嘞，牛背结尾恰样，忙不有，叔叔个门对不的，可以结尾恰样忙不同样有嘞，叔叔拿了这个哈过了，主年度细呢这个哈过了，找这些情呢，那么谈些都门对不当，当我结果没个嘞，找一个解决一个托呢，叔叔了偏偏恰忙不，永远有嘞，大那些当牛来几个嘞。
And actually, it doesn't make sense that we experience these different afflictions towards the friend, the enemy, and so forth. So, the friend, for instance, it doesn't make sense that we're so attached to a person we really like. Why? Because they may also harm us at some point, or we may realize that they have negative qualities. I mean, everyone has negative qualities, and when we spend a lot of time with them, it becomes obvious that they also have negative kind of habits, etc. And then
넘버 단계도 니수 주바당 넘버 단계도 자르 주바당 넘버 단계도 아마르 제네 대야지 수지메버리
and so with the enemy, it's the same. The enemy also has beneficial qualities, has good qualities, and the same is true for the stranger. So in that way, everyone has good and bad qualities, and our reaction towards people doesn't really make sense. There's no one who's completely good, completely bad. There's no one who's like a complete friend or complete.
바마송의 센테스 뇽부스는 차디도 알레 그 순간양 잡은도 상상시 생 뇽버시 레송 다디 사시다 버리다
So there's no one who's like 100% a friend or 100% an enemy or 100% a stranger. No one exists in that way. And if we reflect on that, we generate a sense of equanimity, which serves as a basis, it serves as a foundation for generating love, compassion, and so forth. So we need to generate that kind of equanimity.
讲了니지 공용的讲了的니지 공디讲了수수기 주부 야슈 수수기다 센나로了自我修气虚也经米定点的了下点的了上当你的了米呢
So then meditate on that. So on the following. So based on your view of your friend, for instance, visualize your friend in front of you. And based on your sense of equanimity towards this person, then generate compassion. So first of all, focus on the friend in front of you.
想完了哈。
So reflect on that friend.
다굴라 니마치기 낭로를 빼나 슈방아 보니에 송디 콜라 동에 가리도 로 강에 가리도 빼놓고 수부마 디베 강에 심보마 집에 강에 다 심보마 집에 강에게 나라야 만두 시차고시 상당고다
So now how to meditate? Well, think what problems this friend may experience. So starting maybe early in the morning at 5 a.m., what problems may that friend experience? What kind of difficulties in terms of physical problems, getting sick and so forth, or feeling unhappy, feeling mentally unhappy? And then there are different types of unhappiness. Reflect on that.
나 수부투니 시웨이나 로 수빌라다고 참바 나야기 동해로 수바다 로 참바 나야다 엔다나 신기 수부기 나선 담으려다 빼는 구나야는 수바다 엔다나 신기 세마 트레벌 수바다 진짜기 동해 가시 위에버디 수비투니 콜라 다나신 수부기 투니 미세기 코랑라 강에 가려 위에버디 이제 빼는 미카시엘라 디만 요로 수수기다 무시비 주부딜라 수부라 빼나 칼라 딘데 담다 신도 담다 사두강라 디용구도 메트버 딘데 용구도 딘데기 동에 미 딘데 사두강라 메트버 딘데 용구도 강에 딘데 쿨라 동에 가리 요버디 지진이니 제상당고.
So, for instance, if they have some physical problems, the friend has some physical problem, they suffer from a cold, they have a headache, or maybe they have some food allergies, certain food allergies. So think of all the different physical problems this friend may experience. Maybe there's certain fruits that their body doesn't agree with, so they develop a rash because of their food allergies, or there's certain medicines that their body doesn't agree with, they can't take, and so forth. So in that way, reflect on all the physical problems, the illnesses, the physical weaknesses, etc., that they may experience.
딩서선이 쉬워이나 수수기 찌어지서기 미디 수빙원에 나자 가르이나야 고포 시버지 딘데 차디고 딘데기 수부디 토만도 스타존시베 카투딜 강야시부 주주지시네 파메기야 수니 레요 파마다 니고르기 미디 다 딘데기 수부디를 메진베 도스쿠 게네 드레기 게베 동에디야 도드메버티 용거 다 게베 동에디 시차우지 상담 로 게엔루 디강라 카상가수 또 쉰바 옹부 냥바 침바 냥바 세기 땅가 냥바 수부 야마초바 마데마토바 드루마토바 산데유네 사마토바 나수치도 텐데 둥에 사마 까 둥에 텐데 두상 상당.
So take it to a deeper level. Well, this beloved person, well, they may get sick. Any kind of sickness may befall them. So their body is fragile in the sense that they could get sick with any kind of disease. So this body that has been raised with so much care by their parents, well, one day it'll grow old. And Rinpoche previously, in one of the previous sessions, Rinpoche talked about all the disadvantages of growing old when your sense faculties degenerate, when you're no longer able to see and so forth. Your memory declines, the radiance, you lose your physical radiance. You can no longer get up. It's difficult to sit down. It's difficult to walk. You can't eat this and you can't eat that. So in that way, reflect on all the sufferings that are associated with old age, focusing on that beloved friend that is in front of you. So physically, from the point of view of disease, from the point of view of growing old, what are all the difficulties this person may potentially experience?
아니 그 치에 동에디 시마고 버리 왜 바로
So we don't need to even talk about the suffering of death, because that's definitely going to happen one day.
쿨라 동에 가르 다디 상루 나루라 자치네 쿨라 강에 가르여 상 참아 상다고 다 류라 동에 가르여 로 차베 동에 차유 동에 도베 동에 공베 동에 엔다나신 마디 수부 마디오 녀도 차베 강에 엔지 내가 차상지 수비투니 수부스 왔다던다 수비투니 제마도바 아니 제네야 탈수바 제마도바 수부를 쇼메바 근데 동해 강에 가수 그게 강에 가수 마오 텐토가 있는 뒤치지 니지지의 주지고다 그걸 강에 가르여 봐 참아봐 칭하나 장가 지지 상당 거다 도지 니 시정.
And in that way, you should think very extensively about all the physical problems this person may experience. So they may suffer from cold and heat, from hunger and thirst, from exhaustion, and so forth. So all the different physical problems they may have. That, for instance, they lack the ability to perform a certain physical action. They may not be strong enough. All the different kind of diseases they may have. And in that way, reflect on, just from the physical point of view, of all the trouble, of all the suffering they may experience on the physical level, as extensively as you can, because all those serve as a cause for compassion. So in order to generate compassion, all these reflections serve as a cause for you being able to generate compassion towards this person. So you should really count all these problems like you would count a mantra when you count mantras using your prayer beads, using your mala. So in the same way, you should kind of count or list all these different problems they may
엔다 수부
experience.
쿠란기 토네요. 수부 쿠란디다 디차디고로 가르스고 다 따버리시 쭈구다 가서 취재니 쭈나마도지 야부지 연구보다 고치마카디기도 근데 디강에 대해 요해버다 강에 시차부 동해 차상 지지 다 생기 토네 시에버이나 딜레장 러심바 마치바 심바 투바 아니 다나신 되베된 어 투드 다 메버바 되된 지든 되바 나신 민주바 민되바 투드 봐봐 아니 되병우부 제자미니바 엔 다나신 미다디 생기 동에서 로그르베다 생라 용구로 미두바다 체바 예수 두자다 체야 다우 두자다 체야 엔 다나신기 수수란 자시 지니디 수체디的카텐주야 그러 긴라 야부디的카텐주야 기투 야부디 션주야 주부 야부디 션주야 근데 그걸 카뚜 이나 세나로라 시부지 용디기도 마디오 등에 참아 야지
And similarly, with regard to the body, just the fact that they have a body that they always need to keep clean, to always have to look after the cleanliness of your body, because otherwise the body starts to smell. And then on a mental level, there's so many more problems when considering their mental state. So they may be unhappy, their mind may be disturbed. They suffer from not getting what they want or from getting what they don't want in terms of physical objects, in terms of other objects, not getting what they strive to get, encountering unpleasant situations, not encountering pleasant situations, having an enemy, losing a friend, losing a teacher, losing a student, losing someone close to them. So there are all these different sufferings, suffering from grief and worry, etc. All these sufferings associated with the mind.
수수랑니라 유베 류기 동에 탕지 수수랑니기 생기 띵도 용약이 강에다 마지버 마디워 탕지 하랑 자세 자탐바 지버 지장 수수기 인유 주부딜라 유에데버 차디고 그랬다 나다 지버 지장 민되we 동에 참아 생기 강에 참아 콜라 다랑자 그냥 수수도 지버 지장 니마 지기 나로라 가르 마디워도 동에 요버 참아 콜라 지버 요래 사
So we should reflect on all the problems we ourselves may experience, the physical problems we experience and we have experienced, mental problems in the same way. So we can basically say that almost 100% our friend will experience similar problems. So just from the point of view of one day, the same kind of problems they experience as well. So in that way, to reflect on that there's so many different problems and really develop a sense for these problems. So you should meditate on that.
수수 조부디라 수수의 지버지장기 류생기 동해의 강에디 수수의 지버지장지 요래 다디 쿨라에 땐데기 강에 친구 동해 친구 수수의 지버진도 다디 아카 코랑 동해디의 제는 지마로 코랑 동해디의 제워지 용로지나 다 동해디의 제워지 용로지나 용나 지마로 상배 상루디지 야 거주 야 제고
And so think that and the same kind of physical and mental problems that I experience right now, well, they may also experience. And to become aware of all these countless difficulties, these countless sufferings they may experience, and then generate the sense, may they be free. How wonderful it would be if they would be free from all these problems. And in that way, wish for them to be free from any kind of unwanted experience. May they be free from any kind of difficulty. How wonderful it would be if they were free from these.
수수 조부디야 수수의 지버 되베 신왕도 주디오레 시당기 신왕도 주디오레 나제기 신왕도 주디오레 차도기 신왕도 주디오레 뉘생기 신왕도 주디오레 띵무기 신왕도 주디오레 너르드나 녀모버 탕지기 신왕도 주네 할레베 냥타버지 수수도 집어지장레 렌두지 아니 고랑야 강에 디다데 제노 지마롱 삼바지
And then with regard to the friend, this friend is just like me. They're controlled by their attachment, by their afflicted desire. They're controlled by their aversion. They're controlled by their arrogance. They're controlled by their envy. They're controlled by their ill will and by their ignorance. So, in short, they're controlled by all these different afflictions in the same way as I'm controlled by all these different afflictions. And they will experience the result of those afflictions. And again, may they be free. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they'd be free from this situation?
주불미네 동에 가수기 제벌 마와상 당토나 디츠지 니지 야오용고 니지 용의 편도고 세상 동에 디줄르지 상당네 아니 수수 예비 동에 상마다 쿠이 딘 상당네 아니 도부디 동에 디다의 제노지 마루 삼빌루지 디네 주비딘 상사비 지라 양루디 파 카푸지시네 바마 강사 바마 딜라 상당 수수기 나준 남에라 샤기 미디딘도 미디안 된라 샤네 아니 코양 수수의 집어지장 다기 주부나신 동네 디탄제 유바 강에 디탄제 유바 집어지장을 디양 지진이니지 뒤에 땅에 상당고다 더디부 제주요 말가서 라소바 세선지 라소바스라디가 그 소세 지나 상마 주셔 되네 매버리 그 지지 뒤에 땅에 상도 차상다 아니 오 콜라야 동네 강에 디 참만도 아카 상지 디 숨바디 수수 다우디안 된라 샤네 아니 다우디란 집어지장 요래 강에 집어지장도 아까 디앙 동해의 제루제나 삼바도시
So, with a friend, therefore, it's important that we meditate in such a way to think that these are all these problems that I experience, to take some time to reflect on our own problems, and then think that in the same way, this person also has all these problems. And so, the more we reflect on this, the more time we spend with each problem, really extensively go through it, the greater our compassion will be. And then the same meditation we do with a friend, now we visualize the stranger in front of us. Now you change your focal object to the stranger and visualize the stranger is right in front of you. And in the same way as you did previously with regard to all the physical and mental sufferings, go through all the problems they may experience. But here, what is important, you should not think and so forth. Instead of kind of shortening it. You shouldn't shorten it. Rinpoche says, don't just think, oh, he has this problem, etc. No. Go through each problems. So don't choose the easy way, but just going all physical problems and so forth. No, go through all the problems, each one of them, anything. Because the more you can think about it, the more detailed, the more problems you may list, or the more problems you're able to list and reflect on, the stronger your compassion. And once you've completed this really extensive process of going through each of the different problems that, based on your own experience, that you've experienced and they also experience, both a friend and a stranger, one after the other, well, lastly, then you take the enemy. And again, do exactly the same. All these problems of a physical nature, of a mental nature, go through each one of them without shortening it and so forth.
다 수수당 수수기 조보당 바마당 다우순가 다 수수당 아니 군소순가 참 나서 참아 나랑도 참아 동해 참무장에면 돼요 동해 대신은 되면도 대신 되고 말해 그러 아니 에 다나신 강에 중세장이 되고 말해 다 되어 있는 배 되어 유세 공예디 되는 집어지장 레테네 로 아니 랑신 참마 된了月대비 조보제 바마제 자우순가 참아 아니 동해의 제로지나 제는 지마로 제월 쇼스로 제월 주지 제월 쇼 상비 상대하시지.
And so, having done this, we should do exactly this. So, reflect on our own problems, reflect on the problems of our friend, reflect on the problems of the stranger, and reflect on the problems of our enemy. So, each for all of them, for all of these four beings, to spend some time and go through these different problems, and also to remember that we're all the same and that we do not wish to suffer. We don't even want to experience the slightest problem. We're all the same. We don't want problems. We don't want to experience the slightest difficulty. And to view all of us, all four, as the same, ourselves, the friend, and so forth. And then think,
참아 녀모베 시원도 취니 장와메바 지워라 장와메바 네발라 장와메바 개발라 장와메바 나와라 장와메바 치워라 장와메바 다 륜디안 수수긴 되바낭신지 용해메데바 로 가리러 디간라 오늘 제본 수수라니 수부 유부순의 지ren도 칼라 제구도 추제구도 로 엔다 장마 수구도 도로 요구도 시부지다 수부니 가서도 가르제 용거스나 개베동에 티용그리 나유동에 티용그리 상마 티용구도 그 세상 상마로 진제기 강에 여버 지줄 수부디 유부로 취여버 인디강라 수부디 유부 제베 린티라 다 텐도 디워세 산이 메데버리 아니 닌가 친구 빼는 가서 민강라 다가치네 하장기 변 자자부기 네번 자자슈기 네버지에나 진짜긴 자자슈기 나사디 닌가디 단단 가서 디탕인데 수부디강라 용야기 닌가당 용 시버디 미임버 장지 상면 지버 지장르다 디 송구도아디 상제기
我们都一样。
so then to think, may all of them be free from suffering. How wonderful it would be if they were free of suffering. So may they be free from all these unwanted experiences. And then to think that right now we're all under the control of our afflictions. There's no control. We have no control over our birth, over how long we will remain here. We have no control over growing old, sick, and dying. There's just no control. And moreover, we have no control over this body in general. We are basically a slave. We are basically slaves of our body. We need to feed it. We need to drink water. We need to dress our body. We need to clean our body. We need to do all these things with our body. And at the same time, it gives us all this trouble. Because of this body, we experience the suffering of birth, of aging, of sickness, of aging and old age and death. So we experience all these different problems. We are basically a slave to this body, and while we have this body, we can't experience any lasting happiness. So if you think of like the worst disease a human being could get, like people in hospital, the worst kind of human disease. Well, our body, there's a danger of having this kind of body. There's the danger that we have the same kind of disease, that we develop the same kind of disease. This is what the Buddha himself has said, that as human beings, think of the worst type of illness. Well, our body is so fragile that it's possible there's a danger that we ourselves experience this.
会发生这个那次即使容我看得住为那的地俺让出去数不刚了用西巴当用容我当用呀给人个的约吧说定期吧这是地送吧这他用被切吧的要嘛的马用吧西罗
不一定会发生。
Now, with regard to illness, whatever illness there is, it is possible that we experience that illness. There's great danger. So it is certain that there's this great danger. We're not saying that they will definitely. So we're not saying that there's definitely there's it's definitely going to happen. We will definitely get sick. No, but there's certainty as to the danger. So all of us are susceptible to the worst kind of diseases. This is true for all humans. This is true for all beings, for all ordinary beings.
라니 바마송나 만두베 생진 요마로 구조송디 구서다버리 다 군조송기 쳔베 생진 탄지 동에다 제노지마로 자와슈상 도스 세네 저와자 세네 메랑자.
And so in that way, we should focus on these three beings, the friend, the stranger, and the enemy. But actually, they represent all sentient beings because basically our relationship with regard to all sentient beings is one of the three. Either sentient beings are our friends, they're strangers, or they're our enemies. So in that way, we should then focus on all sentient beings that are represented by these three beings and wish for them to be free from all sufferings and unwanted experience and think, wouldn't it be wonderful? It would be so wonderful if they were free from all this. May they be free from all these problems, from all these difficulties and sufferings.
다 담보 당뇨 디공 디네 된라 생진 디수 미치지네 동해 상르 당네 동해 가수 마와상 당돈 디수지 니지 지야다 니지 슈친주엘 핀도 여버지.
And that way we should start our meditation by meditating on equanimity, which is followed by focusing, visualizing the three beings, stranger, enemy, and friend, and reflect on their suffering. So go through all the different types of sufferings. And the more we can think of their sufferings, the better it is for our compassion. So the more sufferings we can reflect on, the stronger our compassion will become.
내기 니지 친구들 제용디 간라 신라 쿨 레용고로 두쿠르치고로 두쿠르 안긴쿨 라용고로 신기 동에 신기 강해라 도나치용고레 쿨레용고레 디자인도 마세비 맞출 상루디 자치를 당용고레 아니 맞출 상루디 상루 상부지 수용고레 야로기 심바지 아 주용고레 딘데기 상부 자치무 니지 자치무디 공용디 간라 다 디차용구도 상루 자친부 차용디 간라 단다 두침바 내샤기 나로라 샹바 공부이나 수부 야부 차그레스 롱 주야디주 로 차 주야디주 야부 용그레스 딘데 송도 니지 친구 공부이나 디데 지버리다.
And in that way, it's we should generate great compassion towards all sentient beings. What that entails is taking personal responsibility for the welfare of all sentient beings, paying attention to others, and widen our attitude. So to become to adopt this far-reaching attitude, generate warm-heartedness, generate positive states of mind, focusing on other sentient beings, and in that way we should adopt this far-reaching kind of mental attitude. And so when we meditate in such a way, when we think in the way just described, well, as it says in the sutra on the foundation of mindfulness, in the Satipatthana, or in the sutra on the foundation of mindfulness sutra. So in there, it talks about the benefits of meditating on love, how it benefits our body, how it benefits our blood pressure, etc. So in the same way, we can here apply this also to compassion. It's extremely beneficial.
신기 동해 상용바 다랑 신기 동해 망부 상에 줘라 상바 다랑 디레 关心他人关怀他人다랑 신기 동해 상바 다랑 신라 도나지 고로 신기 동해라 두쿠 도나지 신기 동해라 다 가서 그래 디지고로 긴디 신기 두냐 녀에들은 긴kur lang yung gor darang kurang 긴kur lingor 긴kur cha yung gor 긴kur lembat cha gor darang
And so when I say
关心
关心
关怀
关心，兼顾。
So when I say reflect on the suffering of others, well, when we reflect on the different sufferings that others experience, that will naturally lead to a kind of interest. First of all, we're interested, we pay attention to their problems, and that then leads towards taking personal responsibility for their sufferings.
就是思考他人的痛苦里边痛苦或者是困难或者是他人的苦思考
So I think Rinpoche is saying like that's just natural.
这
You
本身
naturally
就是
pay attention to all their problems,
关心
and
他
then
人
that leads to the
这
sense I need
这
to do something. So a sense of
关
taking
心起过了
responsibility. So it's just
现在
that.
等于上把大让库上行了关心起过了行了긴kur lingor darang kurang se
So it's really based on exactly.
매바 있네 다랑기 다랑 긴kur기 상로 차고
So it's like by just focusing on the suffering, just naturally, right away, that kind of the sense of needing to do something, this kind of I want to take, I'm responsible for that, that arises.
심벌 심벌 디 심벌 장도 당한다 심벌 자친주에라 배 정신기 핀도 용거를 배 자친
And if we meditate
如
on
此的修
compassion in
悲
such
心，
a
很
way,
自然的就会
our
让我
mind
们的
will
心呢
naturally
变得
transform.
善，
We
变
become
得广大。
more warm-hearted. Our mind will become more expansive.
下因是当年给真的都是公职一两年的这些家给谷歌穷的搞不穷你就是当中忙穷呗那我呢公贵这些就就是些个的那么是就是那都是些呢公布呢拼都有的是真的去学因咱们的突击去学因你估计经验说的突击去学因那忙吧了当年俺说真的错呀给真的错别告诉这些家呀当那么是公积金呢只要当多把点的累月吧因呢你忙吧了顾客点的穷吧因呢这东俺说只要真的去推给了越是
And so Rinpoche says we've now reached the end of this last session. So we've reached the end of this these teachings. And so Rinpoche says he was very happy to have had the opportunity to teach you on meditation, on how to meditate. So he was very happy about that. And it's if we had more time, we would have to spend more time to meditate. I mean, we have to spend more time on meditating. If we had more time, it would have been necessary to spend another hour or 2 hours just on meditating. It's so important to meditate. Anyway, Rinpoche would like to thank all of you, and he would like to thank all the organizers who made this possible. And also in the future, if there's time again, to give explanations and to meditate and to ask questions and so forth, Rinpoche will take the opportunity. Rinpoche will definitely take the opportunity to answer your questions. And there's one question apparently.
留古别囊路留的别是留街边呢因不有讲的年纪公布第是留街边呢年纪公布第叔叔的新手家育嘛的新手八个人年纪公布第叔叔的新马几个几个嘛的什么第使用什么上不接近的什么几不的啊都是使用过的卡多年纪公布卡多的了马基本差不多去要的如卡多的卡多的传达的超东西顺着去要的因那呀新的东西上不了点点用过为的讲了第一什么价值的前些呢后了什么不一样的是吧不一样顺着呀的你大那新的新的卡是我的数的都数你都当你都给装备的我的利用过
So apparently the question is about, isn't it depressing to meditate on compassion? Will it not make us unhappy and feel unhappy? And Rinpoche's response was, well, the answer to this question you will find in the 8th chapter of the Bodhisattva's Way of Life by Shantideva, where it talks about the meditation on compassion. And in that context, it also explains that if you meditate on compassion, your inner determination, your courage will increase. It won't decrease. And instead of becoming unhappy, you feel happier and more satisfied. There'll be more greater well-being, and you feel more relaxed and calm. So basically, when we reflect on another person's suffering, maybe right in that moment there may be a sense of discomfort, but we're not focusing on our own suffering, which may lead to great unhappiness and so forth. Instead, when we focus on the suffering of another person, it kind of widens our mind, it expands our mind, and in the long term, it expands our mind in such a way that we're calmer, more relaxed, and we develop this great inner strength.
谢谢大
各位。
家。Thank
So
you,
thank you.
everyone. Thank you. 말해. 녀를 딜라우라 진짜 기도니. 두지치 아니
So
계준
first I
나가
need
송준.
to, now it's
송준스는 송스는 나랑을 시서 샤고 말해. 나랑을 끼라고. 아니 간다 계준 나한테 기시라다. 아니 아자라 넘버 니가를 두지치 学. 아니 용조了두지치. 谢谢大家. 谢谢翻译个西啦.
So thank you to all of you. Thank you also to the translators, to the
Samala,
Chinese
谢谢
translator, to
来
the
主
German
席。
translators. So to all of you,
谢
thank
谢
you.
大家。
Oh yeah, so again, would like to thank all of you, Chinese and German translation, and everyone else. Thank you to all of you.
几万节用个真气。
谢谢大家，以后再见。
你也没浪进点给的。
So Rinpoche will recite some prayers, and we will meet again, Rinpoche said.
我想就是就人不急嘛，
May the precious Bodhi mind that is not yet born, may that arise and grow, may that which has not arisen, may that not decline but increase forevermore. And may, for the benefit of all sentient beings, may all the prayers of the
谢谢
Bodhisattvas
菩
come
提心。
true.